Welcome to Rust and Ruin. We're a new D&D stream. We're going to be playing here, two times a month? Is that bi-monthly? Is that what that's called? Or is that...
Yeah, don't put me on the spot. We're playing twice a month. I'll phrase it that way.
Well, anyway, we're going to talk about player creation today. And specifically, we're going to be creating one character for our new stream. So, let's have
hi everyone. I'm Daniel. That's Shannon, by the way.
Oh, by the way, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, Shannon, what's your role in all of this?
I'm going to be our DM, our dungeon master.
Yeah, and I'm going to be one of the players, and I'm really excited to do this video with Shannon as our first Rust and Ruin video that we'll be releasing. I'm going to be creating the character I'll be playing in Shannon's campaign, Rust and Ruin, and I'm really excited to make this character because I'll be using features from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which is a recent Wizards of the Coast release. And yep, there it is in all of its beauty. I have it on the D&D Beyond version, and I'm really excited to make this character. So I'm going to share my screen with you and go ahead and get started showing you how to create a character. So I've only done a couple of things on D&D Beyond. I have said I want to make a new character. I have given my character a name, which is right here. And then I have also given my character a picture. This is an image I made for my character. My character, as you can probably tell if you can see in that small little image there, is a Dragonborn. But I haven't put that into D&D Beyond yet. So again, all I've done is I've uploaded a picture that I made of my Dragonborn character, and I've named my character. His name is Maldrast Znalist. And let's get started with the character creation. And Shannon is here as the DM to say what needs to be said, overrule me, answer questions. He and I have been texting and talking a lot about this already. And if you are a new player, that's something I definitely recommend you do with your DM when you are making a character. Ask them questions, and we'll get into that. All right, so let's see. What kind of sources am I going to allow in here? We're not going to be doing any Magic the Gathering content. We might do some Everon. I'll leave that in there. We'll do some Critical Role content, maybe. Homebrew stuff. I'm just going to give myself a lot of options.
Yeah.
Okay. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to allow some customization and some options. We are, I'm assuming, because I played with Shannon before, doing milestone advancements.
We are.
Instead of XP. Okay.
Milestone.
I'm going to do the fixed HP. It just keeps things simple. And again, if you're a new player, I recommend keeping things as simple as possible so you can just focus on playing and enjoying the game. So I'm going to do fixed HP, which D&D Beyond will calculate what my HP should be based on my race, my constitution modifier, my class, all of that. D&D Beyond is going to do it for me. Let's see. We probably should have the restrictions for multi-classing, Shannon.
Yes, we'll go ahead and keep those on there.
Use encumbrance, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want my super rich character to worry about coin weight?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so wait. Okay, I'm not going to select it then, so I'm not ignoring coin weight.
Right.
All right. For now, I'll leave this display the way it is. I can always change that display later if I want. Because we're doing this stream and we might actually have people watch it, I'll make my character public. I'll leave my character as public instead of private.
We're hoping people watch it, at least.
Yeah, we sure are. All right, so my race, that's the next thing we're doing here on D&D Beyond. I am a Dragonborn. Let's see. Okay, and so you can see, right, it's telling me, like, because you're Dragonborn, you get +2 to Strength, +1 to Charisma, these things. But in Tasha's, remember, it tells you that you can take those race benefits and apply them to a different ability if you want, if your character is not the archetype. And my Dragonborn, I'm going to be a wizard. So I am not the archetype. I'm not going to be adding that +2 to my strength. I'll be adding it to my wisdom. The charisma, I'll go ahead and keep. The +1 to charisma, I'll go ahead and keep that. I think that'll be nice. All right. And then I've already looked at all these details because I knew I wanted to do a Dragonborn, but D&D Beyond's great. It tells you about your draconic ancestry. And now I do need to choose what my ancestry will be. Or I get to choose it later, I think. I get a breath weapon that depends on my draconic ancestry. So I'm going to choose this race. Boom. All right, now I'm going to pick what kind of dragon I want to be, or what my draconic ancestry is. I'm going to choose blue dragon. If you remember the picture from earlier, my character is of the blue dragon ancestry. Therefore, my breath weapon is going to be lightning. And then I have resistance to lightning. Perfect.
Very cool.
All right, we're going to choose my class. I've already decided I want to be a wizard. I'm really excited about the specific type of wizard I'll be when I level up in Tasha's. I don't get to do that today because we'll be starting our characters off at level 1. But spoiler alert, I want to be an Order of the Scribes wizard, which is really exciting. Okay, so I'm going to add this wizard. If you're a new D&D player, you might want to notice like a D6 is my hit die. So I'm going to be kind of weak in terms of health points. But that's what I want to do. Okay, so I get to choose some proficiencies.
Wizards are not usually on the front lines of battle. They're usually, they take a backstage kind of mentality with their spells.
Yeah, and which is why I'm saying that my Dragonborn isn't really fitting that archetype, because I'm not going to be the really strong kind of Dragonborn. Let's see. So I picked the skill of history because I've thought about my character, and I want my character really to be someone who loves books. Order of the Scribes is the kind of wizard I want to be when I get to make that choice as he levels up. So I'm thinking history is something that I want to be proficient in, have this skill in. And then I think it'd be good for a wizard to be able to detect magic things, so also choose Arcana. All right, I think that's all I need to do for a level 1 wizard at the moment. All right, so now we're to the ability scores, and that's actually something to consider. So let's go. I've opened up the player's handbook here on D&D Beyond, and we're going to look at the wizard class. Again, for new players, what D&D has done, Wizards of the Coast has done with the player's handbook is they tell you right here, if you want to make a quick build, what you need to do. So intelligence needs to be your highest ability score. I think earlier when I said I was going to add the +2 strength, I was going to use Tasha's rules and allow me to add it to a different ability. I think I said wisdom. I meant intelligence. That's what I should have said, because that's the most important thing for wizards. So I'm going to be adding that +2 racial bonus to my intelligence. And then your next highest should be Constitution or Dexterity, it says. So when I'm back to my character builder here, that's what I need to think about. All right, so Shannon, are we doing the standard array? Or do you want me to roll?
Let's do the standard array.
I like the standard array, yeah. So I kind of get to choose. So intelligence, let's make you my highest with 15. And then we'll make Constitution my next highest, 14. I'd like to be kind of charismatic, kind of influential. Strength is definitely going to be my lowest because I'm not your stereotypical Dragonborn. So now I got to decide Dexterity or Wisdom. I think Dexterity I'll make 12, and I'll be an intelligent person who's just kind of average with the gut feelings. All right, so now I believe I need to go ahead and tell D&D Beyond that I'm doing that switch. So I'm going to give myself a +2 that I could have given to my strength as a Dragonborn. I'll give that to my intelligence. And then my charisma, I'm going to give it a 1 for being a Dragonborn. So now my total scores are all right for my abilities, and then my modifiers are affected by that. If you're a new player, just remember you can figure out your modifier from your ability score with this formula. Subtract 10 and then divide by 2 and then round down. So 17 minus 10 is 7. Divide by 2 is 3.5, round down. So my modifier for intelligence is +3. Not bad for a first level character. All right, so Shannon and I talked about my character's background. We're doing homebrew, by the way, we should have said that. So Rust and Ruin is homebrew. So I know the country that my character is from, and I know the city that my character is from. And we discussed that my clan, for Dragonborns, their clans are very important. They don't really have parents per se the way humans would. They have siblings in the form of clutch mates when they all hatch from eggs around the same time. But anyway, a clan is really important to the Dragonborn. So my clan's important to me. I'm not an outcast. We get along. They like me. I like them. And they are merchants. So I'm going to select that as my background. Now I get to select some artisans tools. I'm a book kind of guy. Again, all these decisions would be a lot harder to make if I hadn't thought about my character beforehand. So Shannon and I can't stress enough thinking about your character's background. But I decided that my character, again, sort of looking forward to taking the Order of the Scribes once I level up. And for Order of the Scribes and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, they're all about books, spell books. They can get magical quills. Eventually, they can basically manifest their spell book and have conversations with a floating head or book. It's just this spiritual little tiny thing that you can have conversations with. So for me, I'm thinking my character has spent a lot of time reading and a lot of time practicing his calligraphy. So I'm going to select calligrapher's supplies. Languages. Let's see, I get to speak an additional language. So I speak Common and Draconic as a Dragonborn. And Common in your world, Brew, Shannon, is called what?
It is called Vorian.
Vorian. Okay. So now, as a guild artisan, I get another language. So this is something I have to think about. I think I'd speak Dwarvish, because my clan, we sold gems and diamonds, raw gems and diamonds and valuable, precious things like that. And so I think that means we probably would have interacted with some dwarves, and it would make sense that I speak Dwarvish as well. Okay, now let's talk about character details like my alignment. I want to be, let's see. I want to be chaotic good.
You don't want to be evil.
No, not at all. I don't want to be lawful good because, again, for new players, like spoiler alert, sort of, that wouldn't get my character anything. Like if I'm a paladin, I would need to be lawful, right? Or a cleric. But I don't need that for any of my character's abilities. So chaotic good allows me to be like a good person, but it also gives me some freedom. So if there's a law in place that I actually think is unjust, I can just do whatever I want and not feel bad about it and not lose any of my abilities. And you can kind of see this, D&D Beyond's great. If you don't know what all this stuff means, it tells you. So I act as my conscience directs with little regard for what others expect. And look, I'm in good company because copper dragons, I'm a dragonborn, they're typically chaotic good. All right, my faith. I am different from my family. Shannon's got a homebrew god going on in his campaign. Why don't you tell them about him, of the god of artisans and guilds people?
So the god of artisans and merchants guilds, we have Aldur. He is a clever trickster god.
Yeah.
Neutral.
Chaotic neutral, right? And my character is different. My clan is kind of with him, with Dalgur, but in my readings, I discovered Bahamut, the platinum dragon god, and I've kind of aligned more with him, and that's actually one of the reasons I'll be leaving my clan, leaving my city, and going on a quest. All right, so I want to choose my lifestyle here. Um, yeah, I can't lie. If I'm a guild artisan, I'm probably modest, which kind of determines how many gold pieces I have to pay a day to maintain that lifestyle. But when I go adventuring, I won't be paying that much per day, 1 gold piece per day, because I won't be having, I won't be renting a room, for example. But I think when I was living with my clan, I think I had a modest lifestyle. All right, well, hair and skin, we'll take that as scales. I don't really have hair, but scales would be blue. My eyes is multicolored. So it's sort of flows from orangish pink, and then orangish pink, and then bright blue.
Ah, very cool.
Dragonborn are pretty darn tall, so I'll be 6 feet tall. I'll just write 6 feet. They're usually pretty heavy because of, again, that +2 modifier makes them like strong, beefy, full of heavy muscle. I'm not that strong, but I'm still a tall dragonborn with scales. So I'm going to say I'm 200 pounds. Age, here's the cool thing. Dragonborns, they reach adulthood at 15. So I'm going to be like the youngest adult dragonborn you can be. I am a man or male. All right, let's talk about my personality. D&D Beyond suggests these things, and then you can always customize them. So let's look at some of my personality traits. I can choose 2 if I want. Definitely a perfectionist. I practice calligraphy. If I care that much about how I write something, right? Definitely a perfectionist. So this is always fun. I've thought a lot about my character, but sometimes just thinking about these traits can give you something else to think about. It's like D&D Beyond Wizards of the Coast giving you some extra ideas to think about and like get your mind going.
By the way, as a DM, just watching this player creation informs me a lot about your character, because I know in other games that I have played and that you've played, we've created characters away from the table, so to speak, and you don't get this. And I actually like this a lot.
Yeah, and it's been fun to text. Yeah, Shannon, thanks. It's been fun to text and stuff to really try to make a character that's not just like, okay, I did 5 minutes of thinking about my background so I can play and I can't wait to, roll a die, although that is fun. In this way, I can like role play my character better, and that can make the sessions be more than just about rolling a die. Let's see. I'm not well known for my work yet, but I do want everyone to appreciate it. So I can add that, and then I can edit it later. I can customize it later. Let's talk about my ideals. Let's add some of these. Definitely aspiration. Dragonborn are very like self-sufficient. They like to be really good at something. They support each other, and they'll turn to Dragonborn, to their clan, to other Dragonborn, other clans. They'll do that before they turn to anybody else. So I think I like the idea of really working hard on my craft, and that kind of being what drives me. So I'll pick that ideal. Let's think about some bonds. What am I connected to? I like the idea of owning my guild a lot. Shannon and I talked about this when my character, Maldras Nalist, goes adventuring. Actually, the people in my clan in my city, they got together and they did a donation for me to give me some funds to support my trip. So I'm going to feel like I owe them something. All right, now the fun part, right? What are some of my flaws? I think I'm never satisfied with what I have. I mean, that's why I'm leaving home, to learn more about wizardry, to learn more about the craft of wizardry, to learn more about Bahamut and this new faith system I want to explore. And for me to leave a nice home, like I said, I'm not playing an outcast. I have a great setup at home, a modest, nice lifestyle. Things are good for my character, so I'm not satisfied with that. So I'll go ahead and add that flaw. All right. And then this is something that I can add to later, like actually type out my backstory. I know y'all probably don't want to see me like typing things and misspelling things, but I'll skip over that, but I'll say some details here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and click next, and talking about starting equipment. Right, I'm not starting with any magical items, sadly, but I should have some equipment. So let's go with that. I want a dagger. I'm sorry, a quarterstaff. Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like the idea of bopping somebody with that if they annoy me. Kind of like Yoda. Let's see here. I think I'll take a scholar's pack. It's got a book of lore, bottle of ink, ink pen, parchment. Yeah, that's definitely what I want. All right. Oh, this is tough. Arcane focus. What'd you say?
I said a component pouch or a focus.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go with the arcane focus and take an orb, because a dragonborn with just 3 fingers and a thumb. Here, let me get that. There you go. With talons holding an orb is pretty cool. We'll worry about the components. I'm going to have to buy a components pouch, but that'll be fine. All right, I get a set of tools. So I'm definitely taking my calligrapher's supplies with me, like I said. I'm going to uncheck a letter of introduction from my guild, because my clan, they're all about jewels. I'm like the only one who's doing calligraphy, really. So this is kind of homebrewing it. So I don't have a letter of introduction from them, because they're like, I don't know what you do. Set of traveler's clothes and a pouch containing 15 gold. I will add that starting equipment. Although actually, let me go back. Never mind. I chose an orb instead of a rod. I was like, I don't need a staff and a rod, but I have the orb. Okay. We'll do some other possessions later. Shannon and I will probably do this off screen, because we talked about my character getting a donation from my tribe. All right. Go ahead and hit next. And now we can view the character sheet. And we're almost done sharing screen here, looking at D&D Beyond. But here's a picture of my character, and we can change things here. Like, I'm a blue dragon, so I'm kind of like, I don't want all this red framing here, so I'm going to change the theme. I want it to be blue. That looks pretty cool. And then I'm going to, let's see, do I want to change the backdrop? Maybe. Let's see. It's probably already set to wizard, because that's what I am.
That looks really cool.
Excellent. Yeah, like that. And so for those of you, again, who are kind of new to D&D, now you can see like what my initiative is when we roll to see if there's, who's going in what order in battle. This is pretty cool with D&D Beyond. You can just click that, and then it'll make that roll for you and automatically add your modifier. And that's a pretty cool digital dice I got because of Rime of the Frost Maiden. And then you can see what my proficiencies are. Like, I'm proficient in Arcana checks. So if I'm looking at a magic item and I'm like, hey, DM, what is this? I can roll, add 5. That's a pretty good roll. I probably learned something there. Don't you think, Shannon?
Yeah.
Boom. All right, so that's a really neat feature if you want to use digital dice, which I do sometimes, and then sometimes I also use my nice heavy metallic die, which make a loud noise when I drop them. But if you've played a wizard before, you're probably thinking like, he didn't really choose his spells. So I can, on D&D Beyond, I can select spells and then manage my spells. So I have 2 first level spells I can cast as a first level wizard, but I have none prepared. So let's add some spells. And this is something that Shannon and we didn't really talk about. We were just so excited about my character's backstory. So yeah, actually, if you're okay with it, Shannon, I'll come up with those spells later.
That's fine.
Because I'd rather talk about my character, and I'll be able to select those spells later. So my character is obviously, like I've said, he's from a good clan. They sell gems and diamonds and like raw, like unrefined. And so because of that, a wizard named Eganon would come to our village 3 or so times a year to purchase these materials, these components that he could use in casting higher level spells, particularly spells that could bring people back from the dead, even if they'd been dead for a long time. Shannon, why don't you tell, Eganon's a character you've made for this world. Why don't you tell folks about Eganon?
Well, Eganon, he has a very interesting story, and actually in our home game, he has come up a lot, and he actually traveled with our adventurers for a long time. And I don't, what do you want to know about Eganon? What specifically?
Well,
because I don't want to reveal too much before we start playing in game.
Right.
And,
well, I mean, you and I texted enough about him earlier. So like, he's been coming to my village for a long time. Dragonborn mature pretty quickly. So around when I was 13, nearing adulthood, I started having conversations with Eganon. And Eganon helped me discover basically that I had an innate ability to cast magic. And so in an unofficial, casual, just a few times a year kind of way, he would teach me some things about magic. And this is why my character got interested in becoming a wizard. And I'm now, as a level 1 wizard, like, you know, level 1 wizards compared to just an ordinary person in the world of D&D, level 1 wizards are awesome. But in terms of a level 1 wizard compared to a level 5 wizard, I'm not that great. So I've just kind of started experimenting with my abilities, my magical skills, abilities, insights, etc. And so Eganon has inspired me to pursue that path. And also, I'm very interested, you know, Dragonborn live to be about 80. And in my clan, there are some people who are very special to me who have helped me out in my young Dragonborn life. And I know that they're going to die, obviously, eventually. So for Maladras Znalis, it's important for me to learn magic, get my hands on some of these diamonds that my clan sells, so that I can revive the dead and bring them back from the dead if their souls choose that. I'm not trying to be a lich. I'm just trying to give back to the people that matter to me.
I'm not trying to be a lich, just want to toe the line.
No. chaotic good, not a lich, but just I like the idea of being able to bring somebody back. And especially because this human wizard, Eganon's a human, he was buying things from us kind of for that reason. It's made me think, wow, I'd love to learn that ability. So he's influential for me in terms of how I decided, like, hey, I'm going to be a wizard instead of just somebody who writes and practices.
As a DM, I'm thinking, wow, I got to turn this player character into a lich.
Well, see, this is why it's good and bad to talk with your DM while you create your character. But anyway, so Eganon's really important to me, and I want to learn and improve in my magical prowess, getting eventually to the point where I could raise someone from the dead if I thought it was necessary and if their soul desired that. So that's a good thing. And Eganon is also the one, as a traveler, and my guild was all worshiping that one trickster god of merchants. He's the one who told me about Bahamut, and that's kind of been like a religious turning for me. So Eganon's really influential person, though. Now I'm 15, an adult dragonborn, and I'm going to be setting out to go to a university. Spoiler alert. Eganon's not with me right now. Like, he's been influential, and then he's gone. He's like the wise sage who helped me, and then now he's doing his own thing. Yeah. So Shannon, we've talked about. There's one more thing I think I could say about my character, but I want to run by you. Is there anything else you think we need to tell folks as we're doing kind of this, how to make a character on D&D Beyond, and then the background you need to think about?
I just think it's interesting. So we've talked a little bit about our map, our world map. So what Eganon, he is a human, and you being dragonborn, were there any problems between the races or anything?
Yeah, that actually leads me into the next thing I was going to kind of talk about. So it's always cool if you can to do an accent in D&D, and so I'm going to try for our games to do an accent so that you can tell when it's Daniel the player asking Shannon the DM a question compared to when it's Maldras Znalist in game saying something as that character. So the only thing I was going to say that could kind of get in the way a little bit with Eganon and Maldras Znalist would be language, because as a Dragonborn, Draconic is my first language, and it's a harsh sounding language with lots of consonants and lots of like sh and z sounds. So when I speak in Common, or what's it called in your world, Shannon?
Vorian.
When I speak Vorian, I speak it with a Draconic accent. And so that's the only thing that got in the way. And so for those of you who are hopefully going to be watching us play, Maldras Znalist has sort of like a Russian accent, like just a little bit, like he's very adept at speaking, but just a little bit of an accent. And I do that not at all. I want to be clear, not to mock people who speak English with Russian accents or to mock anyone who speaks Russian. But really, it's because I know some Russian. I know some Russian words and things. I know some other Eastern European, a few words in other Eastern European languages. And I thought it would be really neat, basically, for Draconic to be sort of like Russian in our world, so that, like, if I need to say something in Draconic in game, I can actually say it in a different language than what everybody else at the table understands. Or we'll be streaming, doing this like via Zoom, social distance playing. So everybody in the Zoom call or whatever wouldn't understand what I was saying, just like in game, if my character were speaking Draconic, they wouldn't understand it. And so like my tribe name or my clan name and my name are inspired by Eastern European languages. They mean something. You'll learn what those mean maybe in game. If the characters get to know Maldras Znalist enough, he might be willing to share what his name and clan name means, or what his city name means. He might swear in Draconic instead of swearing in English. Or Devorian, Common. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's probably the only thing that got in the way is that Devorian Common is not Maldras Znalist's first language. And so when you're talking about something extremely complex like magic, I'm sure there were a few times when Eganon had to repeat himself or find a different way of saying things so that Maldras Znalist could understand.
I like that. That's very cool.
Yeah, so I think that's it. I'm sorry, folks, that I didn't have my spells prepared. I was just so interested in his background, I kind of forgot about thinking forward into the story, what kind of spells you'd want to cast. But I can tell you, in terms of what spells I end up picking, like Fireball, I can't pick now anyway. But Maldras Znalist is going to want to be more of a jack of all trades, a handy person, a booster, a creative problem solver. I don't want to have him just load up on damage dealing spells. I want him to be the kind of character, especially at higher level when he gets more interesting spells. I want him to be the kind of character you're like, man, if we didn't have this creative problem solving character in our party, we would have been done for. Dealing damage is awesome, and wizards can deal a lot of damage. But for you new players, personal opinion, if you want to do magic that deals a lot of damage, I say go with a sorcerer or a warlock. What do you think, Shannon?
Yeah, unless we have another player in another game that I guess we're currently wrapping up, who can do a good bit of damage with some creative thinking, with some spells. But yeah, I play a sorcerer in another game in which you DM, and I've dealt some heavy blows, so to speak.
Yeah, and of course, like exactly. I'm not saying wizards can't do a lot of damage, but I'm saying there are other magic casters who can do a lot of damage who might not be able to do the things a wizard can do. So I'm going to try to focus on what's unique to the wizard class. For example, in that game you brought up, our friend who plays a wizard, y'all were captured by mind flayers, and they had taken all of your gear and hid them behind a magical barrier, an alien magical barrier. And I, as the DM, was thinking, like, I don't think they're ever getting their stuff back, right? Things that y'all had spent sessions acquiring. I was like, I don't think they're getting it back. This is an alien mind flayer, magic thing here. But the wizard had a spell. If he took 10 minutes, he could learn the magical properties of this thing, and he was able to get rid of the barrier so you could get your items. Like, without him in that situation, you weren't getting your items back. And so that was a better spell for him to have prepared than just one that does damage. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking when I pick my spells, especially at higher level. I'm going to be focusing on things that are, again, like creative problem solving, get us out of a tough spot. And hopefully, I don't know what our other players are going to be. Hopefully we'll have, some fighters, some paladins, barbarians, whatever, some people who can deal damage, rogues, and sorcerers even. And then I can kind of be behind the scenes with my quill and eventually my floating spell book that I can communicate with.
Oh.
All right, I think that's all we wanted to cover here. We're really excited to start playing. Shannon, why don't you talk a little bit more about what playing this is actually going to be like, and then we'll wrap this up.
So we're going to be playing on Zoom, and we're going to be virtual. So where it's going to be more theater of the mind, in which we're not going to have a lot of props. We're working on creating some things like some portraits of characters and the world map. So I think we'll have some cool things that the audience, that you all can reference and look at. However, we're not gonna focus or get stuck on things like having miniatures or things like that. The world is called Elthazon. That's the name of the wide world, and we're on one of the continents on Elthazon that is the oldest and has a very rich history, and I cannot wait for it to unfold.
Yeah, Shannon's been treating this world, this homebrew world, like Robert Jordan series. He's got tons and tons of stuff, thousands of years of history. I mean, it's not just a homebrew world like, hey, I've thought up of one country and one conflict. Here we go. Nothing wrong with doing that. And I love one shots or even really short campaigns. There's nothing wrong with that. But this Rust and Ruin is not that at all. I mean, we could play our whole lives, only playing twice a month. We could play our whole lives in the world that Shannon's been working on for a long time now. And as a player, I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited to level up and make my mark on this world that Shannon has made. And so that the next group of players who enters that world, maybe they'll encounter and learn about the great deeds of Maladras Nihilist. I think that's going to be super great. And Theater of the Mind is going to be perfect, especially while playing virtually. It's really hard to maneuver a bunch of miniatures when you're playing virtually.
Sure.
People do it, and I think that's great. But we're looking forward to what we're going to be able to present to you all, and we hope you enjoy it too.
Yeah. Sounds good. I'm ready.
All right.